Once upon a time, about 2 billion years ago, there lived no one, nowhere. The earth was barren, desolate, rock-bound, and lifeless. Not a single living creature existed in all creation. And then, the miracle of life came to pass. The first being was born, and the animal world began.
Said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life."
This is the ancient ancestor of most living things, a complex substance, which, after eons of ages, mutated and multiplied countless billions of times, and filled the saltless seas with microscopic one-celled animals. Here now, the miracle of life. These are paramecium. Simple, one-celled, microscopic, yet as definitively animals as are lions, elephants, or bears. A dainty creature of delicate design is the Stauromedusan, but as ferocious in its weird surroundings as would be a wounded tiger in the jungle. A pinpoint universe in a constant state of siege. Here, paramecium and rotifer do battle. Where, the Bible and science both agree, all of life had its beginning. These are pteropods, weird butterfly-like creatures that live near the surface of the water. They literally fly through the sea. An unborn creature with beating heart visible floats about in one of the smallest of universes under the sea.
A billion years went by. The land was still dead. All life that existed still lived in the sea. And even then, the arrangement of boy and girl had been firmly established. Sea worms had already appeared, and these miniature snake-like creatures sought out and did battle with smaller and more defenseless prey. The tube worm probably was the inventor of do-it-yourself. He built a seaside resort of sand and water in which to hide from his many enemies. And by the way, there's nothing new about flying saucers. Even 500 million years ago, they were all the rage. But they filled the seas instead of the skies, and they were jellyfish. Parachutes were no less popular. Though not as complex as this miniature, chutes of similar design floated merrily through the ancient seas. Regardless of shape, they were still jellyfish.
This is a cyanea, a weirdly beautiful species of underwater animal with its mouth located in the middle of its body. These pulsating tentacles serve for locomotion and also as a method to trap food. This flower-like creature is an ocean-going animal of misleading design. Beauty hides the carnivorous appetite of the sea anemone.
Then, as now, everyone was hungry.
100 million years more went by, and still the earth was barren, but life in the seas thrived on. The headless clam was gifted with an educated foot to use for digging in search of food. Sometimes the sand was more stubborn than the clam. All through the ages, the clam lived in constant fear of the sea stars. Just as this serpent star lives in constant fear of the deadly anemone. These creatures which stud the ocean floor have a simple slogan: don't eat us, we'll eat you. The starfish leads a busy life. The lady star is even busier. Giving birth to thousands of babies at one sitting would keep anyone busy. Yet this is normal procedure for the star. Here now one of nature's miracles. This serpent star is literally giving birth to more than 2,000 baby stars. Mother's interest in her young doesn't include babysitting for any length of time. About 10 minutes after birth, these babies are strictly on their own. The starfish comes in a variety of sizes and shapes. Here now, the sunflower, better known as the star with a problem. It has 21 legs, but no head. This makes walking easy, but thinking impossible. This mild-mannered, rather bewildered fellow who travels in all directions at the same time had a rather formidable ancestor which boasted a 15-foot-long body and a carnivorous appetite. Less hungry are these modern fish that bear little resemblance to their ancestors which were thrown up onto the earth 350 million years ago, either to suffocate or to learn how to breathe.
This world beneath the restless seas is ever-changing and ever-changeless. It's a world without sunshine or seasons of the year, and with secrets well kept since time began. One thing is certain: the fantastic animals that live beneath the sea are as numerous and varied as the stars in the heavens. The seahorse is among the most delightful of all watery creatures. Feeble swimmer at best, he anchors himself to drifting plants and is usually at the mercy of wind and waves. Despite this, his great dignity of motion would befit a banker, slowly rushing to make the 5:15. As for the shark, his temperament is not helped by the suckerfish.
Comedy and tragedy mix daily beneath the sea. Witness now
the ruffians farther out to sea, and certainly out of the neighborhood.
The bullies have fled, and peace reigns beneath the sea. But not for long. The shovel-nosed shark and the bat ray, members of the Mutual Menacing Society, join in a scavenger hunt. And when they hunt, anything looks edible. The rays are great at ballet. The sheepshead likes to pose. As for the shark, he'll eat anyone.
The amphibians, which learn to breathe out of water, are the earliest of our four-footed animals and are probably the ancestors of either all or most of the land vertebrates. And so, after 1.5 billion barren years, life finally invaded the land. The housing problem apparently had no beginning and no end. Landlords were the same then as now. Pay the rent or out you go. Here's another item that has had no change. For some strange and peculiar reason, the female of the species has always been hungrier than the male. As the finned ancestor of the modern frog ventured onto the land, he branched into many forms. But as amphibians, their conquest of the land was never completed. Only the reptiles, descendants of the amphibians, truly conquered the land. From the bottom of the oceans they came, grew into strange creatures, dominated the sea, invaded the land, and became kings of the earth. But other creatures more adaptable and more protected than the dinosaur lived on through the fire and fury and through the change of climate. Among those that survived was the social order of termites.
For crammed into these little beings is an instinct or mentality of almost frightening dimensions. The division of responsibility in this darkened miniature world is allocated into groups, which include the soldier, the worker, the queen, and the winged males and females. The soldiers are equipped with natural heavy armament, and some have a handy sticky substance to paralyze their victims. The termite queen may grow 20,000 times her original size and lay as many as 10 million eggs during her lifetime. Here now the arch enemy of the termite, the dreaded ant. For millions of years, the termite and the ant have waged the Earth's longest continuous war. A single sentry stands guard at the entrance to the termite colony. The termite sacrifice is in vain. The invasion is on. The battle is done. The ants retreat. The victory is indecisive. But the dead, as always, are very dead, and the living, as in higher forms, care for those no longer able to care for themselves. The cost of battle is many dead and many wounded, but the warfare between the miniature warriors, now momentarily halted, will rage on through the ages as it has for the past 150 million years. Down through eternity, the termite lookout will stand guard against the invasion of the hated ants.
The ages passed, the climate became mild, and the earth bloomed beneath a more friendly sun. The flowers continued to blossom, and the land became an endless source of food supply. The lowly mammal, which had made a frightened appearance in the reign of the dinosaur, now reached full maturity and dominated the earth. For this was the golden age of mammals. Then the great winds and the cold rain of the north chilled the earth. Cold and icy world, there existed many animals whose adaptability to the violent change in climate allowed them to survive. Included in this group was the walrus. His great fur coat, his ability to exist on both land or water, and his simple diet helped him live through the Ice Age.
And in that Ice Age, about 1 million years ago, man's first appearance on Earth is fairly well pinpointed. Where he first appeared is not too clear. Of science's first man, we know little or nothing at all. Of Adam, we know much. According to the Bible, he was the first man, and he was made of dust. Science is far less specific. It speaks of transitory periods, evolution and missing links lost in the shadows of antiquity. And we also know that the world's first villain was a snake.
And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life.
The mystery of the deification of animals by man is buried in antiquity. Sometime at some unspecified point in history, man bowed down in awe, reverence, or fright to an ancient animal and started a practice that continued through the corridors of time.
And in the shadowy half-light in the world of superstitions, there are the three wise monkeys who speak no evil, hear no evil, and see no evil. There's the lucky black cat of ancient Egypt, and the infallible fairy tale charm of the rabbit's foot. These and other ancient superstitions have been passed down from father to son, along with the strange rituals performed before relics of animal gods.
But the relationship between man and animal has also been less holy. It dates back to a contest of survival, and from the beginning, fortunately, man arrived better equipped than the beast. Man's conscience and the sharp focus of his eyes, his ability to reason, speak, and make himself understood, his free-moving hands and arms, and his opposable thumb, his capacity to build tools and weapons, and his faculty to walk erect on two solid arches. These are the gifts given man to raise him above the level of animals. Add to this his ability to imagine, remember, and record his acquired knowledge. This would be man, highest form to date of animal life.
Life was fathered by the heavens, mothered by the earth, and cradled in the sea.
As for age, we know that the animal world is 2 billion years old, give or take a couple of million. Varieties, rather indefinite, but close to 1.5 million known species would be a safe guess. Some of them are beautiful. Others are less so. Sizes, they range from microscopic insignificance to monstrous proportions. And they most assuredly come in an endless assortment of the strangest of shapes, forms, and dimensions. And in a variety of colors: black, white, red, orange, green, brown, two-toned, and you name it.
As for their characteristics, some are as gentle as a kitten, sly as a fox, mean as a bear, proud as a peacock, dumb as an ox, fat as a pig, wise as an owl, busy as a bee, meek as a lamb, sweet as a skunk.
Factually, it would be proper to say that birds, fish, reptiles, insects, mammals, amphibians, and microscopic creatures are all animals. But the animal world offers more than cold analytical fact. In the Bible, fable, folklore, and fantasy, it's a special kind of world. There's Daniel in the lion's den, and Jonah and the whale, and little Miss Muffet and the spider that frightened her away. There's Noah and his wonderful ark, and the animals that came 2 by 2. And St. George and the fiery dragon. There's Hannibal and his valiant elephants that crossed the Alps, and the mysterious, frightening chill of strong men's hearts as they face the dangers of safari. And mounted men riding through history, including Paul Revere and his horse that helped save a nation, and Alexander the Great, who conquered the world on a war horse.
Endless are the names of the heroes and the adventurers who helped document, write, and record the history of the animal world, the world of which we know so little. However, we do know that when the first man was created, he arrived in a world already crowded with insect life, which had come into existence 250 million years before man had appeared. One of the 750,000 known species is the firefly. The blinking light of this misnamed beetle is a signal between sexes. More simply, man is sadly outnumbered. Even more frightening, man could lose the race for survival against the insect. This is the Cecropia moth. It lives only long enough to mate and lay eggs. She lays the eggs singly or in a string. Soon afterward, she dies.
The cycle starts again. These are baby caterpillars born of a moth mother. And here is nature's original lawnmower. Fortunately for man, caterpillars spend a good deal of their lives in a cocoon. Building of a cocoon takes a full day. Occupancy lasts all winter. Nature must be cruel as well as kind in order to keep a balance among her littlest creatures. And this may come as a surprise. The spider is not an insect. It belongs to a special class of insect-like animals, which makes it related to the ocean-going king crab. No one, but no one can choose his own relatives. Nothing is wasted in this wondrous world. Here, the original deep freeze must have been invented, for the spider is actually wrapping a grasshopper as a snack for some later date.
The black widow spider has an overrated reputation. Less than 10% of its bites are fatal. Spiders come in a variety of colors and sizes. This giant crab spider has picked a little fellow as its victim. He seems to hunt just for sport. In a matter of seconds, the poison takes paralyzing effect.
Every insect has many enemies. Perhaps the strangest of all is the plant trap. This beautiful glistening shrub is only one of a large group of meat-eating flowers. And though rare, these carnivorous plants come in many sizes and colors. Here is a sundew plant, which has just caught an unfortunate bug. And here is another variety, the Venus flytrap, which grows in great shrubs. The construction of these plants is far more ingenious than any bear trap ever built. This is the hair trigger mechanism that springs the trap. And here is just the bug to spring it. Now, the trap in action. Once the petals close, there is no escape. But sometimes the bug is quicker than the trap. But not too often. It's a sad, wiser, but very dead bug that plays hide-and-go-seek with the trap. The very same curiosity that killed the cat is equally fatal to the bug. Sometimes the trap has trouble with a stubborn customer, like the Japanese beetle, who incidentally doesn't speak a word of English. Nature weaves its cycles in other strange and wondrous ways. For example, the praying mantis is a hunter, a killer, yet a mother to hundreds of eggs. The dried froth, which is rainproofed, serves as a nest for the newcomers, which soon hatch and scatter in all directions, an absolute necessity in view of their cannibalistic tendencies. To the praying mantis, there's just no place like home. For home is the place where mantis eats mantis 3 times a day. The mantis enjoys an ill-gained reputation for piety. Her mistaken position of prayer is actually one she takes before attacking some innocent prey. Prehistoric-looking and ever hungry, this miniature monster is no pious character, but rather one of the most savage and bloodthirsty creatures of the insect world, and one which lately has been more properly named the dinosaur of the garden. Hear now the story of the bee, indispensable to man all through antiquity as the only source of sweetening known. Man contends that by every law of aerodynamics, the bee can't fly. The bee goes on loftily ignoring the law and continues to fly. Functional is the word for bees. The males mate but do not work. The females work but do not mate. As for the queen, well, she certainly doesn't work. Flying insects dominated the sky long before the creation of the first bird. But the history of true flight dates back not to the first bird, but to the first flying creature, which wasn't a bird at all.
Rhamphorhynchus, reptile with wings, 150 million years old. Pterodactyl, prehistoric flying creature, but still not a bird. This, then, is flight, as modern as tomorrow, as old as prehistoric times.
Flamingos travel in flocks, sometimes numbering in the thousands. They feed on shellfish, so when the tide goes out, the table is set. Fish or fowl, babies are always hungry, but don't give a hoot who knows it. Table manners include proof that his beak holds more than his belly can. Some people eat too much. For example, no one should try to fly on a full stomach. Ducks are as much at home in the air as in the water. Don't judge them by their takeoff. Some of them have attained a speed of more than 160 miles an hour. But sometimes their speed is hampered by rather unusual circumstances. These are wood ducks, the most beautiful of waterfowl. You wouldn't think they could be frightened off by fish, but watch this. Mother and children float in the Easter parade. The young ones try it alone. The grown-ups have much more trouble deciding on a plan of action. Thinking is rather difficult when standing in 20 feet of water if your legs are only 6 inches long. This is especially true when the fish are crazy about snapping at birds' legs. A duck's got to eat. Not if the fish can help it. This is known as eating on the swim. Nerve-wracking even if you're a duck. The competition now gets keener. The fish get bolder and begin to dream of roast duck for dinner. But the ducks won't cooperate. When the fish become insistent, the ducks leave town. Babysitting must have been invented by the birds. They're always doing it. And no one is faster than Mama Bird in fixing the baby's dinner. Quick as a flash, instant caterpillar.
Nature is so delicately regulated that if during one summer all the birds stopped eating insects and all the insects stopped eating each other, the atmosphere would be choked with trillions of flying creatures, bringing an end to all mankind.
Why a baby bird takes its first flight, man will never know. Despite free rent, he just can't wait to join the ranks of unemployed birds. This bushy-tailed invader of high places is a robber of birds' nests. Whoops, butterfingers. Something as simple as drinking water can be a hazardous pastime, especially if you're a parrot on a water faucet in the middle of Africa. turkey trot was all the craze when Mother was a girl. Craze is right. No sane turkey would be caught doing it.
Africa, land of the endless sun, haven of the hunted, last outpost of the wild. Here in the midst of sudden death, the buffalo, the impala, and the antelope live in peace at the waterhole. The giraffes and wildebeest quietly wait their turn. The zebras and sables are also present and orderly. Here in the Kruger National Park, the world's greatest wildlife sanctuary, animals live unmolested by man and under his protection. And many of these animals are helpful to each other. For example, the relationship between the sable and the tick bird is a matter of comfort to the sable, one of convenience to the bird, and most unfortunate indeed for the tick. The Greeks had a word for this one, hippopotamus, river horse, a vegetarian with a nautical urge that keeps it waterbound. Largest of the world's land animals and target of one of its fables is the elephant, for actually the elephant never bears a grudge. Less generally known are the facts that an elephant purrs when content, and that a baby elephant is a prize mischief maker. The eternal triangle must have had its start in the jungle. Here, two bull giraffes start a riot over the tall, feminine object of their affections. This is no playful skirmish. The blow of a 100-pound giraffe head could break the leg or crack the neck of this tallest of all animals. Giraffes do have vocal cords, and although generally ineffective, the mother can call to a straying calf. The giraffe is a gentle creature. His only natural enemy is the lion. Enter now the female enemy of all the jungle. Grazing impala catches her eye. The trap is set and sprung. A charging lioness can travel faster than 40 miles an hour. An impala apparently travels faster. At least this one does. And to the silent applause of her family. But the lioness is not easily dissuaded. Failure only intensifies the hunt. She moves into the clearing, and her presence freezes with fright all the peaceful beasts gathered about the waterhole. The panic is on. The kill attracts other killers. Keeps her balance in order. Vultures, silent, high-flying scavengers of the jungle, wait their turn. The hyena also waits. The dance of the vulture is not a pretty sight, but one which is repeated daily throughout the jungle. Were it not for this continuous cleanup campaign, the wilderness would be unfit for even the lowest of beasts. There is competition even among scavengers.
Above such competition is the king of beasts, lord of all he surveys, but no match for his mate, the lioness, who can lick her weight in lions. She keeps in shape while shopping in the world's largest supermarket, called Africa. The kids tag along. Father stays home. Mother couldn't be more annoyed, and shows her displeasure with old-fashioned head cracking, only she's doing it the hard way. Sorry, lady, I was only kidding. Those motherly headlocks would give anyone a headache. And a kick in the head doesn't help either. You know, come to think of it, being a lion in the wilds of Africa is way overrated. Being a baby lion is even worse. Unless, of course, you're crazy about headaches or having your face licked. Thank goodness Mother's out of breath. Gives us time for kid stuff. Boy, this is the life. Uh-oh, I knew it couldn't last. Here we go again. Aspirin, anyone? The jungle has its lighter moments, and most of them are provided by the clowns of the wild, the monkeys. Now, monkey business is an occupation that should be reserved for monkeys. Unfortunately, man continually tries to prove he's a relative. And just as often, the monkey proves he's right. Ask any baby baboon, and he'll give you odds of 2 to 1 that the world is upside down, and that life is just one scratch after another.
About the crocodile, I wouldn't want to be quoted, but they say he modeled for the original outboard motor. Speaking of strange, fellows, did you know that dragons are real and actually exist in certain parts of the world right now? This one is 9 feet long and a native of the Dutch East Indies. No less unusual is the duck-billed egg-laying platypus, or the jabiru, a black-necked stork of the tropics. And equally peculiar is the noisy frigate bird. This puffed-up character is a pompous, noisy bridegroom whose bellowing strut is calculated to catch the eye of his lady fair. The frog's lament is no less romantic. On the other hand, the koala bear of Australia holds a unique claim to fame. He never takes a drink of any kind. This teetotaler of delightful shape spends most of his time eating moisture-filled eucalyptus leaves.
The gazelle that thinks himself a giraffe is the silly story of the Gerenuk. This misled creature with the unlikely name just can't keep his feet on the ground. Not flighty, mind you. Just imagines he's a giraffe and insists on eating out of the upper branches of trees. And the gopher who lives in the ground must be peculiar, too. Frightfully rude of you to find fault, old boy, what? The middle of Africa seems a most unlikely place for a lady's beauty parlor and mud bath. But here it is. It's catching. The ladies of the Baboon Society take a walk in the midday sun. Has eyes the same as his father, hasn't he? Junior's acting like a monkey again. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, a hungry lioness climbs a tree to check the menu of the surrounding countryside. This girl is hungry and just crazy about monkeys. Let's get out of here. Wait for me! Hey, fella, she's only kidding. Now what?
Talk about traffic hazards. Why don't you watch where you're going? Sunday drivers, I'll run you down.
Maybe you wouldn't think it was so funny if you knew that the favorite food in Cambodia was monkey stew. Or that roast elephant feet is a tasty dish in parts of India. And you had better not look so pleased. Camel burgers are all the rage in Arabia.
Ever since the first man killed the first animal and found its meat good to eat and its fur warm to wear, the destiny of man and animal has been intertwined. This would be the well-dressed man in a world without animals from which to get raw materials. But fortunately, there are now more than 10 billion animals domesticated for the sole purpose of feeding and clothing man and supplying him with other byproducts.
But very often, man finds himself in competition with the animal world. Here is one of his competitors, the big cat, the mountain lion, the puma. And here is what they compete over, the meat of the great herds of cattle that roam the plains. But man will brook no competition, and periodically, he sets out to destroy it. By nature, man is not equipped for the hunt. So, oddly enough, he uses two other species of animals to help track down whatever trespasses his domain. In this case, the dog and the horse. Despite man and horse, the puma makes good his escape. But he'll be back another day to compete again for the great herds that roam the plains. Man has other uses for horses. Bred to the sport of kings, this great mare is better cared for and trained than most people. She quietly waits in trust, while skillful hands help the miracle of life which now comes to pass. Her patient waiting is almost done. A colt is born, and the species continues as it has for more than 60 million years. The modern history of horses is intertwined with the history of man. A horse, my kingdom for a horse, was no idle expression by Shakespeare. The collapse of the entire Roman Empire might well be blamed on the lack of horses, and the settling of the New World would have been impossible without them.
Man doesn't always hunt on horseback, nor does he always hunt in anger. Now he hunts the wild boar for sport, but man almost never hunts alone. Here again, the dog is man's companion. Even with help, man does not always win. Sometimes the animal world leads him a merry chase, and sometimes makes him look a little silly. For example, the rhino is a dangerous adversary. Dangerous enough, even though vegetarian, to make a man nervous enough to miss. Largest of the animals that man hunts on land is the elephant, the only true rival of the lion for the crown of king of beasts. But the hunter has made such inroads on this pretender to the throne, there is now grave concern that the elephant may soon become extinct. Hunting the giant is not a casual hobby, since the elephant has the reputation of having one of the keenest senses of smell. Standing downwind can be an invitation to disaster.
The world's largest land animal wanders into the water to bathe and play, and to offer no competition in size to the largest animal in the sea, the whale.
There she blows! Whale on the starboard side!
This is the domain of the whale, inhabited by the mightiest of all creatures and trespassed upon by man. This water-bound Goliath is no match for the David with the harpoon slingshot. The whale is the biggest animal the earth has ever known, and lord of the sea. twice the size of the dinosaur, the whale deserted the land more than 70 million years ago to wander aimlessly through all of the oceans of all the world. The spirit of Moby Dick still haunts the seven seas, hunted by man, but unmolested by the tiger that takes to the water only when tracking down his prey, the antelope.
Man-eater, killer that walks at night. He stalks his prey on padded feet. The tiger is a wary hunter. His prey is unaware. He charges and winds up in a zoo or a circus. Among the oldest forms of entertainment, zoos and circuses have a colorful history that started thousands of years ago. And of course, animals of every kind and description have always held the center of the stage. The rodeo started thousands of years ago as an ancient circus, the sulky in the form of chariot races. Man has always been curious about peculiar animals like the anteater, and funny ones like the monkeys. The playfulness of the young, the ferociousness of the old, and the antics of those in between has given man a special kind of amusement. But maybe the animals are the ones that are really being amused. For example, where could a mother bear find the safety and comfort afforded by a cage strong enough to keep man out?
In the early spring, the giant brown bears of Alaska desert their mountain dens for lush green valleys where the silver salmon runs upstream. No one handles fishing more leisurely than the great bear of the north. He passes the time of day with neighbors from the new cave development across the road. As he reminisces,
You should have seen the one that got away.
Mama Bear, who's heard Papa's story before, 100 times or more before, is too busy with the cubs to hear it again.
Once there were two of us. Twice there was one of us. Is you one of the two of us? Yeah.
There's always a couple of these in every crowd. You know the kind. They're always doing something crazy, like standing on their heads in the middle of a freezing Alaskan stream. Bears do not inherit the ability to fish. They must be taught by their elders. Motherless cubs grow up to be poor fishermen. Bears eat berries, fruit, and small game, but their first choice is fish. Teaching the young ones how to fish usually turns out to be a bore to the kid and an embarrassment to the mother.
I can't even swim. How do you expect me to fish?
There's nothing to it, son. First, you find a likely spot.
Then what?
Then, real casual-like, you stroll upstream.
Then?
Then you fish, son, you fish.
Oh, I see. Or do I?
You go right on fishing, son, right on fishing. And then you go right on fishing, son. You don't stop fishing.
I see.
You just go right on fishing, son. You never stop fishing.
First you find a likely spot, and then real casual-like you stroll upstream. Then you fish, Mom. You fish.
Oh, no.
Once upon a time, there lived another baby bear who was very fond of everything. And once upon a time, there lived a baby fawn who was very fond of everyone. Now one day, the baby bear decided to take a walk in the woods. And so did the fawn. And can you imagine? It turned out to be the very same day. And the very same woods. At first, the bear wasn't too sure how friendly he wanted to be. But that was only at first. Because once upon a time, all animals were friends. Even the mountain lion was friendly. Everyone had a wonderful time in that once upon a time. You see, no one bothered to tell the fawn and the baby bear and the baby lion that they were all natural enemies. And so, not knowing, they naturally became friends. They played and had fun all through the day in the great woods. The bear cub and the baby lion were especially interested in wrestling, and they'd push and roll and pretend they were fighting, but of course they weren't, because no one ever told them they weren't supposed to play together. Sometimes the little lady fawn was neglected by the bear and by the lion, but she really didn't mind. She loved to walk through the forest, unafraid and happy, in the land of once upon a time. And when the bear and the lion grew older, they still played together, because fortunately they never met anyone who told them they weren't supposed to. And fortunately, they never became quite wise enough to find out for themselves. But the little lady fawn had qualms about their friendship. And it all came about because one day she looked over her shoulder and she saw a most unusual scene in the valley below. There was a huge fellow, handsome chap, one of her own kind, a full-grown buck with enormous antlers. And there was another fellow equally as big. And all of the creatures of the forest stopped to watch. For this was to be a fight, something never before seen. There was a lady involved. There almost always is. And of course, there were spectators. Funny thing about this kind of fight, there's usually more noise than fight. Actually, the only danger involved is having their antlers interlock and not being able to separate. Sounds silly, but it does interfere with eating and sleeping. There's that woman again. As in all fights, the point is lost. In this one, both fighters lose the lady who runs away.
My, what's that commotion below? What's going on down there?
It's no one but us squirrels, boss, tending to business and preparing food for the winter. What commotion you talking about up there?
He doesn't mean you, silly. He means those fighting deer that live next door.
Talk. Why don't you all stop gossiping and keep an eye open for the fox?
Good idea.
It certainly was a good idea. When two red foxes and family live this close to squirrels, somebody had better watch out. You see, the little foxes get awfully hungry, and a squirrel just isn't safe, especially when Papa Fox is babysitting. For every smart little squirrel should know that's exactly the time Mama Fox is out shopping, and usually shopping for little squirrels. Like this one, or this one, or this one. Mama has a hungry family, but our little hero has no intention of feeding them.
Keep running, buddy, keep running.
fox. Come on back and fight.
Now that it's all over, who's afraid of a fox?
I'm not afraid.
I'm not either.
Okay, I guess I'm the one that's afraid.
Hold up there, Brother Fox. Seems like you've been disturbing the peace again. Guess it's time to teach you a lesson, and I'm just a fella to do it.
If you think that's a fairy tale, listen to my story. Now, I'm a goat, and once I was perfectly happy to lead a goat's life. But somebody got the bright idea that maybe I could think. You know, 1 and 1 is 2 sort of thing. So they rigged up a machine. And what do you know? They actually proved I could think. Now, I knew it, and they knew it, and I knew they knew it, but they didn't know I knew it, and they wanted to know real bad. So every time I butt the ball, ring the bell, and release the reward of food, I prove I can think. It's not much fun, but it's a living. Yes, children, animals do think. Perhaps not with the perception of human beings, but think they do. Their proven combination of instinct, adaptability, forethought, and capacity to reason proves beyond all doubt that animals do think.
Of course animals think. But wouldn't it be a good idea not to let people know it? Somebody thought, wouldn't it be cute to put a pig on display showing it do tricks? So I do tricks. Now, if it got around that every pig can think, and any pig could do my trick, the novelty would be dead. So would I. Sure, animals think. But keep it quiet, I say. Let people think animals are dumb. It's smarter that way.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Why be dumb when you're not? 16 minus 13, why, that's 3. And because I know it's 3, I'm a chicken star in a movie lot instead of fried chicken in the pot. Chicken in the pot, chicken in the pot, big deal, big deal. Tell you what I'm going to do. For 1 thin dime, I'm going to give you not 1, not 2, but 3 kitchen canisters. Why? Well, I'll tell you why, mister. Fortunately, we saved our money so we can afford to lose a nickel on every sale.
Money or not, there's always been a little dog for every little boy. And for every big boy as well. But man's devotion is not limited just to dogs.
Psychologically, animals have had a tremendous effect upon man. Some because of their cuteness. Others because of their ability to amuse and entertain. And still others because of their helplessness. More importantly, man copied the antics of animals and profited thereby. He copied the fish and learned to swim. He copied the birds and learned to fly. He learned many other things as well. The innocence of a baby of any kind. The greed and selfishness of almost all.
And from the animal, man learned to hunt. This is the ferret, a creature of small proportions, possessed of an urge to hunt and to kill, completely outsized to its dimensions. And this is the cobra, the hooded one, the hunted one. A ferret will best a snake more times than not. However, the lady is not too sure of the outcome. She's certainly not in favor of the hunt and wants no part of it. The desert is called home by many members of the animal world. And among these is the kangaroo rat. As might be suspected, the little fellow is neither a kangaroo nor a rat. Actually, this playful jumping jack is a mouse with a delightful sense of humor and an argumentative nature. The debate ranges over many topics and includes the usual sally of, "Who was that rat I saw you with last night?" And, "That was no rat, that was my wife." The debate is interrupted by a fellow who can't win friends nor influence people, but can frighten the devil out of kangaroo rats. The Gila monster is the ancient poisonous enemy of this misnamed mouse. Nothing personal, you understand, just the survival of the fattest. Reconnoitering starts on both fronts. The monster is a persistent fellow, not fast, but persistent. The villain anticipates, but nothing like this. Now, the monster knew he wasn't welcome, but this is ridiculous.
Oh, well, I wasn't really hungry.
Now, where were we before we were so rudely interrupted? Oh, yes. Who was that rat I saw you with last night?
That was no rat, that was me, you rat.
All's well that ends well. And fortunately for rats, there's a little girl rat for every little boy rat.
The Great Southwest plays host to a number of many-legged creatures. The sowbug is a most peculiar fellow indeed. Not an insect, but a land-traveling crustacean breathing through gills, somewhat like a fish. The sowbug's problem is somewhat complicated by the appearance of the trapdoor spider, whose favorite menu just happens to include sowbugs. This jaunty air on the part of the sowbug isn't bravery, it's nearsightedness. He just doesn't see the trapdoor spider. But the spider sees him. And now this villain starts to spin his diabolical scheme. Or how the trapdoor spider set a trap to trap a sowbug. Will the sowbug meet sudden disaster? Will some miracle save our little hero? Listen now to our drama. Tune in tomorrow night for the further adventures of Super Sowbug.
The country bull applauds the fighting ability of the sowbug. The bull knows about fighting from his city cousin who makes a living at it. Portrait of a city cousin.
The brave bull goes to meet the brave man. For man has a psychological need to meet, challenge, and best the beast. Man's psychological need goes unfulfilled. He has met, challenged, and fought, but lost to the beast.
This, then, is the animal world, and its sovereign is man. And yet, in all of the animal world, only man willfully destroys himself. But God also gave man a soul to help him recognize right from wrong. The reign of man over the animal world is perhaps really just beginning, and hopefully, this is not the end.